Some water. I feel like you've been speaking.
Good morning, everybody. And I do have some water. So Nell's actually mentioning that I've got a frog in my throat. And so I was just trying to clear it. And she's like, "Do you want to grab some water before we get started?" Just as we were coming on live. So welcome back to another special edition of Chatting with Wisdom. And so, over the course of this week and next week, I am introducing our lovely speakers who are joining us on our 7th annual Women Inspiring Women Conference. And I am super excited that we are doing this again globally, that we have women from around the world. However, Nell's from Canada. So, welcome another Canadian. So, which is wonderful as well. And I'm really excited that we're here. So, the theme for this year is the power of self-love. The early bird registrations have already opened. So if you're not yet registered, then definitely put that in your list of things to do today and take advantage of the great discount that we have for the early bird. So you definitely want to be able to come in and join us. And so on that note, I'm going to introduce you to Nell. Nell, let's start with where are you from?
Well, I'm from Canada. I live north of Toronto. Fun fact is right outside my window, it's an amusement park. So I live I literally live right next to an amusement park. So that's fun. But my background is I'm Sri Lankan, specifically Tamil. So my parents came to Canada from Sri Lanka as refugees.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome. So how long have you been here? Like,
In
how long have your family been here?
So oh gosh, for years. My parents are reaching 35 plus years.
Okay.
They came here fairly young. They came here to escape the war from back home, unfortunately. So my mom came here when she was like 19, and then my dad came here when he was 23. So they've been here for a while.
Nice. So they've been here and enjoying. So are they in Toronto as well, or are they?
Yeah, they live a little bit north of Toronto. They live in like a suburb north of Toronto.
Beautiful. So yeah, so I'm north of Toronto too. Anybody who
Mm.
is, but I'm like way up north of Toronto. So
Oh,
I am a 6-hour drive from Toronto.
oh,
So
I'm in Vaughan.
okay, yeah. So so you're just literally just north of Toronto.
Yeah.
So I love being able to connect with people who are from Canada, but I didn't realize that you were actually from Ontario as well. So that's even
Yeah.
more cool that we are
Yay.
both Ontarians. So
Yeah.
this is fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, I'm a speaker. So I do a lot of speaking, and I'm an engineer. I'm a licensed engineer in Canada, and I'm also a mentor as well. So I work a lot with people one-on-one to really figure out who they are and figure out why they're stuck in their lives. A lot of people come to me when they often feel like they're not excelling in life or like something's missing and they don't know what's wrong with them. Nothing is ever wrong with you. It's just in society right now, there's so much um, expectations that are shoved down our throats, sadly. And a lot of people just lose connection with who they really are. And unfortunately, because of that, they feel like they're the problem and they lose that self-love, let's say, with themselves, because they feel like no matter what they do, they're not perfect. No matter what they do, they can't get the approval that they need. They feel like they can't belong. They don't, they can't fit in. And that's where I step in and I say no. Like, we kind of work together to really figure out who they truly are, let's say. Because a lot of people have this misconception of the journey to figuring out who you are. It's like a upward slope,
Yep.
where I think it's not that at all. It's a continuous cycle, because as people and humans, we always grow and evolve,
Yep.
and certain events change parts of yourself. I've had so many events in my life that have impacted me and caused me to grow and change. And I think a lot of people don't have that mindset of, they feel like once they reach that peak in a certain point of their life, like that's who they are, but that's not true. You're always changing. You're always growing. A really funny example I like to use is, when I was younger, I hated spinach. I refused to eat it. But now I'm putting spinach in my eggs and my pasta and my rice. So like little things like that, like, change, right? If you told 7-year-old me you're going to be eating spinach like 2 times a day, I'll be like, you're crazy. No way. But little details like that, a lot of people kind of don't realize that. And I think that's the part that I want to help guide people on. It's like to be part of this like process, a cycle of a journey of really figuring out who you are and really just breaking free of the societal molds that we've been put in for so long, specifically women. There's so much pressure on us, right? To be the perfect daughter, wife, worker, friend. Like it's too much. Like it's crazy. And a lot of people, specifically women, I just see like their lights are being dim as a result of that, because they don't love themselves anymore because they feel like they're a failure. Why? Because of all these society's expectations are shoved down our throats. That's why. It's nothing wrong with them. And that's something that I want to focus on helping people learn more about.
And I love that, because like that's one of the things. So like, yes, in terms of like women's rights movements and really giving us the power and the ability, is that except for that getting all those extra tasks and responsibilities, we've still maintained all the rest of the having to look after the home and all those other things that come with it. And so just being able to, and like we have some amazing partners that are out supporting our women and making sure, but there's still that expectation. Like, so even though we have supportive spouses or supportive partners who allow us to be able to grow and help and do things, we still feel like we still have this extra burden of like, I need to make sure my house is perfect, or I need to make sure. And so like when you go over to someone's house and they're like, oh, don't mind the mess, and it's like, who cares? Like, I didn't come here to see your mess or whether your house is clean or dirty. Like, it doesn't really matter. And so, but it's just really those high expectations of what it is that we need to be doing, setting boundaries, all those different things that are really important for us, our self-love, our self-care. And that's what the whole point of the conference is that power of self-love, that power of being able to like love yourself so unconditionally that it doesn't matter. I love the expression, the one expression that it says, you have no business, or how does that go? You have no business. Something about not caring about what other people think of you. Like it's none of your business what other people think of you. And I love that expression, because like it really doesn't matter. And as much as I say that, there are times when it's like, oh my gosh, what are people thinking? Like I still go through that, but I still have to, but then I'm generally pretty good, because I've been doing this for a while, of being able to pick up and say, hey, yeah, that doesn't matter. It does not matter what other people think, because it's what's important is what I think, what's right for me, and being able to help figure out how to set those limits and setting those boundaries.
Yeah, right? 100%. Yeah. And I think for me, it's like, this is why I always say it's a cycle, because when I was, single and I didn't meet my husband, I was feeling confident in who I am. But then I got married, and then I have in-laws now. And then there are moments where I'm just like, no, I have to be perfect. I have to dress this way. I have to be perfect. I have to behave. I have to be the ideal daughter-in-law. And my husband will like, thank God I'm very lucky to have a good husband, where he'll kind of shake me and be like, wait, why though? Like, they're not married to you. Like, I'm married to you. Like, if they don't like something that you did, then so what? Like, we're still together. So it's a continuous cycle that even I'm still going through, right? And I think that's what people realize. Like, it's again, it's not a line and you reach to a top. Like, it's a continuous thing where you always have to do what I say is like these temperature check-ins with yourself.
Yes.
To be like, hold on, wait, why am I freaking out right now? Let's just take a minute to pause. How am I feeling? Like, is it because am I feeling like I have to conform to someone else's preference or expectation right now? Is that why I'm feeling anxious? So that's something that I always try to encourage people to do. And I even do it to myself too, because, biologically, we want to belong. We want to be a part of a herd and a group. So it's not, that's just how we've been programmed for so long. So it's something that you have to always continuously do. Just take a minute and pause and be like, am I taking a step away from my authentic self? Am I living my life for myself, or am I living my life for this person at this moment right now? And I think that's such an important question that I really hope that people ask themselves more.
Beautiful. And I really love that, because it is so important for us to have that insight as to where do we want to go, what do we want to do, and how can we bring things forward. And so that is and I love that. And so one of the things that I really love about the conference is that we have women globally that attend. We have women globally that join us as speakers. And the part that is always remarkable to me is the number of women who will actually change their time zone to be able to reflect and be part of the entire weekend, because it really is interactive. It really is that opportunity to be able to build community and figure out who the like-minded community is that we have, because we are so more alike than we think that we are, right? So like we are so much more like the things that we have going on in our lives may look different, the situations, the circumstances, how all those things come into play. But in terms of our underlying concerns about who am I, and like those self-doubts of who we want to be and where do we need to go, and all those kinds of things have that huge impact. And so, but when we have the women coming together and saying, oh my gosh, you know, I connected with Nell on such a deep level that I would have never imagined, going to figure out that piece, or going to figure out how to have that connection. And so like, it's just so remarkable to be able to see the growth that happens in just that weekend. I love the after connection that we have. That we get to connect and stay connected. We have a private group chat that we stay in there for the entire year. And so just as we're getting into the conference, then that's when we start saying, okay, who's coming, who's not, because those who are coming, we just leave them in the group chat. And but then we remove the rest of them when we start this new cohesion. But like throughout the year, we connect with each other throughout that entire year. And even just the connections that we are having as speakers in our group chats, right? So we have our VAs in there, we have our virtual assistants, as well as the speakers, and we get to know each other, and we get to build this bond before March happens. And so, and I love that. And then we create partnerships and things that we can actually do later on down the road. And I love it. I love that, that networking that we do with the speakers, as well as the participants, and having that interaction with the speakers, with the participants, makes a huge difference as well, right? So
yeah.
So why did you choose this particular conference?
So for me, honestly, for the longest time, I thought I was an issue. Like I'm too direct. I like to do things against the grain. I don't like to be the perfect little girl that just sits with my legs all nicely in a little dress. And I thought I was the issue for the longest time. And it was only through seeing other women, opening myself to getting to know other women and creating a community with women, whether it's in the workplace or even my own friend group, even with my cousins and family, having the acknowledgement of we're only going to be our most authentic self. And it was through having those relationships where I would see women who are similar to myself, who would struggle to meet the societal expectations of what a girl or a woman should be, or women who I've been so blessed to have leaderships or mentors who are just unapologetically themselves. And they would have similar characteristics to me. And it was through those interactions and through these conversations with these amazing women where I was inspired by them, because I wasn't the issue. I began to realize, like, no, there's more women out like me who literally kind of overcame a lot of the hurdles that I'm going through, who embraced who they are, who literally live their lives the way that they want it. So that kind of showed me like the importance of connecting with other women, literally to inspire other women, whether it just be one person or two. For me, if I walk away with one woman that is like, you know what, like I'm going to start this journey of figuring out who I am, like that's a blessing for me, because that's just one extra person that I helped. So for me, it's because of my own journey of being inspired by other women, which is why I was called upon this conference. I just thought it was just a match made in heaven for me to just be blessed with the opportunity to connect with other women in hopes of inspiring them and letting them know that it's okay to be themselves. Like, I'm going to share who I am authentically, and I hope that they do that as well and walk away with, you know, that motivation and call to action to just really dig deep and really figure out who they are and just embrace it unapologetically.
Beautiful. And one of the things that I love is how the conference just comes together. And so I was talking with one of the other speakers earlier this week that it's like there is no planning as to like who's going to be speaking where. Like, so it's not figuring out like, oh, this speaker and this speaker and this speaker should all be on day one, this speaker on day two, because I really trust my intuition. And so then it's basically figuring out, okay, well, what time are you available? What time are you available? And then trying to, it's like a puzzle piece that I put together every year. But in terms of like who is going to be speaking and who's not going to be speaking live is all done through a committee. And so, and then depending on people's availability, because things change, some people signed up like a year ago and life has changed and they're not necessarily available. And then you were able to step into that, that being able to be live in the conversation of being able to have, so because it is different having that conversation with the guest versus the recording, but all speakers are just as equally important. But there's that interaction that you were just talking about, right? So again, that whole universe idea of like you need to be a speaker allowed all these things to be put in place that had you move from being a recorded speaker to being a live speaker that allows that interaction for you to be able to have that connection with them outside of that space. So I love that.
Yeah, no, I was very blessed. I'm very excited.
So is there anything else that you want to share before we head out now?
I think I'm just I just looking forward to whoever attends, because if you do, if I'm blessed to speak with you, like I think my only ask is please come with your stories, because for me, I love to hear people's stories, and it's hearing those stories where I love to see where they light up and where I see their light dim. And the reason why I say that is because that's key in figuring out, that's key for myself as well as for yourself in figuring out, are you living your life authentically? And I think that's so important to come prepared with. And, and if there's any other thing that I would love to, invite people to do is when they come in, just have an open mind and just embrace the energy. I think that's it. Just trust, like you said, trust your intuition, trust your energy. And together, I want us to really figure out, are you living your life authentically, and how to literally screw society's expectations and live your own life with as much light as you can.
And I really love that, because it really is about being able to figure that out. And so we've had women that have actually joined us for the last 7 years that have already registered, and they're ready to go again for this year. And and so I'm super excited to be able to have that core group of women that help and support the women coming in. And so like it's beautiful. And so like if you're feeling a little intimidated of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, just again, come in with an open mind. It is a remarkable weekend, and it just allows us to be able to just really figure out who we are. And as a facilitator this year, there's a couple of topics that are a little bit uncomfortable for me. That is me stepping out of my comfort zone. And so that's going to be very interesting to see as a facilitator how all that's going to come to be, because I haven't yet ever had that experience. It's always been like, oh yeah, we're all on the same page and it's all good. And it's not that I'm not necessarily on the same page. It's an area of my life that I am a little more not comfortable with. So it'll be interesting to see where that leads, and how much growing that I'm going to do during this weekend as well. And I grow as much as everyone else, because like you said, sharing our stories, and when they're sharing their stories, it touches me and it impacts me and it makes me grow. So every year I look forward to this, because I get to grow right alongside of everyone else who is participating. So beautiful. So thank you so much, Nell, and looking really forward to having the connections with you and the other speakers. And again, if you have not yet signed up, you definitely want to do that before the early bird ends, just to save some money. So those of you who are watching that are not from Canada, you guys have an automatic discount if you guys are used to dealing with US dollars, because we're in Canadian dollars. So there's always an automatic discount for those of you who are used to the US dollars. So on that note, we will talk with everybody soon, and bye for now.